My name is Jessica, and one of my favorite things to do in art is to record my life story and my days and my moments in sketchbooks. And that's a practice called sketchbooking. And I have several classes, and most of them, in one way or another, are about sketchbooking. If you are going to use a sketchbook to tell your life story, you're going to need pictures to do it. Otherwise, you could just write a book, right? And oftentimes, telling the story of your day or part of your vacation trip or a moment is just about one picture. It might be like an entire page about one thing, like this is. This was me finding Chloe's fruit bars, which were very healthy and they were also very delicious. So I sat down and sketched them in this book. This is about finding weird things in my garden when it wasn't being a garden. In the off season, I sometimes go out and I look for sticks and I don't know what have you that's sitting around. That's a ladder that came from I believe it was a clematis, a potted clematis, and these were old little baby chairs, really made out of sticks, and these were last year's flowers, kind of dried and gone away, spent, if you will. And so these have hardly any words, and it's all picture, and it's like all one picture. And sometimes there are two things that you want to show or express, and so this also, is just mostly picture. It's got the date and one sentence and two illustrations. But I find that most of the time, the best way I can tell the story of a day or a happening is with a lot of little pictures and more descriptive words, because this is a story now. It's an illustrated story. And so these little pictures that make up the illustration on this kind of a spread are called spot illustrations or spot drawings. That kind of thing is used a lot in publishing and advertising and in graphic design. Little pictures that show you something, but it's really used extensively in sketchbooks. And it's fun to choose what you're drawing, and it's fun to arrange them. But the thing is, what you got to know is how to draw little things simply, because every one of these can't be some masterpiece for a museum or you would never get done. I get way too close to that idea and I never get done. Okay, so that was a shopping trip to Albuquerque, and this was a nothing day that was gray and depressing, and I had to do something with it. And so I chose the things that were around me, and I chose a theme of grayness, and here we go. These are spot illustrations, and they can be vignetted, so they can be backgrounded a little bit or not. A spot illustration is perfectly legal to be all by itself, sitting there against a white background. And here's another day that was ordinary, but kind of yucky, really, because worms ate my tomato and the cats killed a mouse and the hoses kept blowing up, But each of these is a small illustration, a spot illustration. Now down here, I don't have them backgrounded. I have a little bit of grass under the hoses, but these are kind of by themselves. Up here, this is tied together with the vignetted background. So both of those are good approaches. I'm going to show you an extreme example of spot illustrating next. This is a really big 9 by 12 inch sketchbook. It's another Stillman and Burn. That's always what I use. And this is an extreme example of spot illustrations, which all of these are. This is my interpretation as I'm reading a favorite gardening book called Trowel and Error by Sharon Lovejoy. And she illustrated hers, and I picked the tips that I liked and made my own illustrations for them. Some illustrations we call iconic because they come with baggage, if you will, but it's good baggage. It's like they suggest something. And so when you use them, you get a lot of mileage because they're doing more than just replacing some words. They're bringing all kinds of feeling to it. In this spread, I would say the most iconic thing are the flower pots, because flower pots mean growth and seeds and gardening and newness and intention and a whole lot of things. So what we're going to do here on the channel is learn to draw small drawings of things, and we're going to draw iconic things because those are the most useful. You can fit them into a lot of stories, and it'd be like grabbing a sticker that's appropriate, except more original because you're going to draw it. And so without further ado, we're going to go and draw something very iconic, a star. And that's something that most people go, it might be iconic, but not easy to draw. But you'll see. So everybody knows how to draw a capital A. And almost nobody knows how to draw a 5-pointed star. You never thought of it, maybe because you don't draw them very often because it's too hard. When we were little kids, we would do a 6-pointed star, Star of David, by using a triangle and then another triangle across it. And that made sense, and we could do it. But it's not a 5-pointed star. And when we try to draw a 5-pointed star, we are a little bit out of our elements. We're going, no, that's not terrible, but it's pretty terrible. And if you try it right now with your pencil and your sketchbook, you can see how you do, you know, and you can go back and you can try and adjust these proportions until the cows literally come home. But this is not easy. But here's a big clue. It is easy if we know how to draw a capital A and we know how to distort a capital A when we need to. We start drawing our star with a capital A without a crossbar. And we're going to put the crossbar, instead of about halfway down like we normally do, we're going to move it up to about a third of the way down. So right about here. And we're going to take it out beyond where it usually goes to about as far as we have going up here. So you see this letter V right here? Spread apart. Have both parts of that about the same length. And you can check that if you want to with a little ruler with squares. I'm too long on that side. It should be just about the same in all those places, and it is just about. Except this one is just a little short now. All right. So now, if we bring that point to the bottom of the leg, and if we bring, you can see it already, that point to the bottom of this leg, and then if we go in and we erase these pencil lines that we no longer need, we have a pretty beautiful 5-pointed star. Now, when you've done yours, you can come back and you can do a little tweaking here and there. Like, I don't want that to feel quite as high as it is right there. So I'm just going to clean up. As we're always cleaning up our sketches, we're going to clean this up. But you don't want it perfect either. You know, when you're hand drawing something, it should look like what it is. And it doesn't have to be perfect because nothing actually is perfect. So they tell me. I keep trying to make something that's perfect, but that's just because I don't give up. So I want you to draw a few stars of a few different sizes on your page. And you won't have this that I did, so you've got room to do it. And we'll be back. So here's a little clue about putting an ink line around a star. And the first part of that clue is don't ever sit and do this from one position because it is just an invitation to disaster. Your hand does just not want to go continuously like that, even though everybody in the world says, oh, contour drawing. Yeah, well, you've seen the results of contour drawing, and they're pretty wonky. It has its benefits, but this isn't one of them. So the best idea is to draw one segment at a time, and to keep as we always do, keep your hand in the position that it likes to draw. So in this case, I was able to draw this one and this one because my hand likes to draw like this. Now, you might be left-handed, you might like to draw like this. One never knows. But I am able to do 4 of these lines from this position. But you see, to do this one, I would be like doing that thing, which doesn't make any sense at all. So turning the book is what does make sense, so that I can draw at my angle. I will draw the best lines that way, and my star will look the best. Just watch your little meeting points of the ink. Depending on what you're drawing with, you can get little bobbles, but with a fine liner, you're in pretty good shape. And now I'm going to erase my messy pencil lines. Now, how about coloring a star? It's a little bit tricky because stars are light, so they don't really have a color. They also all don't look like this. Can you imagine if you got in a spaceship and you went way, way out there and they really looked like this? Not probably going to happen. Okay, but so a lot of people would just color a star yellow, so it shows up, or they would block it out from a background so that it remains white. And that's all good, but there's a way to give a little personality to it without giving too much personality to it and leaving the idea of white, but giving a little form to the shape. I have a watercolor pencil here, and I'm just going to put a single line inside my my ink line on my star, and not too much because this is a small shape, and when I hit this with a water brush, this is going to spread. So just around the edge like that, and then when I use the water brush on it, I'm going to start not at the color. I'm going to start in the white area and go into the color area so that it's subtle. Go this way. And now we've got, we're getting a little personality, a little form, a little value, and coming up with kind of a nice star. You can also take this definition a little bit further by doing our vignetting trick with our watercolor pencil on the outside of the ink line. And you can take that out as far as you want, or just leave it as a little aura around it. It's going to really depend on what you're doing with your star. If it's a part of a larger illustration and it's in a big sky and there's a lot more stars, you might want a different approach than this. But other approaches to night sky are pretty tough. And you use a darker color. And I'm not going to do it in this lesson because it is more complicated, but it's possible to do several stars, use masking fluid on them, and paint a dark sky over the top of them and remove your masking fluid. There will be cleanup to be done. if you try that. But anyway, in a sketchbook, as just a part of expressing an idea, this works just really well. And with your water brush, you can spread that color out until it disappears in a nice blend into nothing. Okay, so how do you use a star in your sketchbook storytelling? It's a wonderful icon. It stands for a lot of things. Follow that star, and stars stand for wishes. So in your draw your day kind of sketchbooking or your save the day sketchbooking, you can use stars at any time to indicate something that you're wishing for, that you're hoping for. You can put words in the middle of stars to give a clue to what that is. Some objects are visual icons, and an icon is something that has such a generally understood meaning that when somebody sees it, they think of that meaning. That association is just really with it. And icons are fabulous for sketchbook stories because they represent, with one little picture, like a whole lot of writing, because they stand for things. So since this stands for wishes, one of the things we could make with a star is a magic wand, which is used to get your wishes. So they say, again. With a little smaller star over here, I've made myself a magic wand. And how do we know it's magic? These iconic little lines. Without those and being on a stick, it probably still would read as a magic wand, but you can put the magic in, the glow, if you will, with just little long and short lines that radiate out from the star. Now, I'll point out something that I did wrong here, and you might too. It's a really good idea to start by putting your lines coming out from the actual points in the same direction, and then the rest will line up. You see here where my one little ray seems to be taking a trip to the right. This guy down here too. So if you want it to look, symmetrical and cool, then start out with the lines that go right straight out from the point of the star. Now I reverse my color scheme. This time it's kind of cool light in my magic wand because I wanted my magic glow to be golden. And so this time I'm going to use this pencil to put in my little vignetting around my glow. And you don't have to be nuts with it, just get it to a little darker toward the star and then spread out to nothing because it disappears into light. This is magic. It's not a solid thing. So like that and like that. There we have like real magic happening. Rays and golden light and all of the above. And my stick, here's another little clue, is that when you're going to do something like a stick, you're a lot better off with a marker or pen than with a brush, because staying in that little narrow place is tough. It's even tough if you don't have a really fine point marker, and if I put even a little bit too much pressure on this one, I'm going to have a mess too, but I'm going to take a chance. Now, if you're using a water-soluble marker, do all this first. And I'm going to just try to have the lightest touch. There I go. I got my stick for my magic wand. Now, what do you do with this icon in your sketchbook stories? Well, you could add it anywhere where you are talking about something that you want to influence. So this can show up in any of your sketchbook stories or your save the day to represent something that you really hope happens. So what else can we indicate with this wonderful little icon of stars? One of the things is falling stars. Falling stars are another very romantic idea that people have, that they can catch one, and they're fascinating to look at. The real ones, they don't look quite as pointed as that and even, but it just has a lot of meaning to it. You know, a falling star is bringing luck to you. And so I just kept mine yellow, shaded a little bit, and I kept my my fallingness in just ink lines. Now, this kind of thing is very similar to the magic lines, lines that indicate that something's going on. And so you would draw these lines just coming from where the star is coming from. It's like a tail on the star almost. And these lines would be very straight. These have a slight curve to them because falling stars are observed to fall in an arc. And so there you go with that. Now, one more combination of action lines and stars. These are called action lines. You know, duh, right? So anyway, this kind of a thing, there's a famous saying that I'm seeing stars because I just hit my head or I just had a shock of some kind. And so this is also a really good way to use the little star symbols in your sketchbook story. So something happened that just, you know, amazed you or shocked you or knocked you off your feet or something. This would be a really good way to show that. And you could draw your little face here or your head or whatever. If you drew it right, you'd have a little person with hair that has stars in it. That's kind of fun also. But anyway, so we have used a capital A to teach us how to draw a star. And then we've come to understand the iconography, if you will, of using a star in our sketchbook stories.